Say, still under for 3-5.
All right.
That matters.
All right. So we're on Wednesday, unit 7 of the first week. And so we're going to work on finishing up part A here. We're actually going to try to finish up part A of unit 7 today so that on Friday you can just skip class entirely. You can actually skip class on but we'll be coming to class and working on the final project in class on Friday. So okay. And we'll try and again, remember with the final project, you'll want to work with a partner and you'll have to decide that. So I'm hoping that maybe today we'll figure out partners for the final project there. But we're also going to do a special data analysis or data visualization project here. And it is the main assignment and is due this Sunday. So again, usually assignments aren't due until the following Sunday, but because of the end of break, I'm having this due this week, and we're going to do it in class largely today for you. And then you can turn it in, and then you don't put it off until next week because you will have way too much stuff next week that's going to be due here. So we're going to do now this. We're actually, we've adapted this a little bit more to this assignment. It's based off of Mobile CSP 7.4. So I'll just show you 7.4 real quickly. So this talks about going out and doing research, picking out some data sources, making some questions or hypotheses about the data source, downloading it into Google Sheets, working collaboratively with a partner on trying to figure out your hypotheses there, and doing some visualization, some graph or something like that of your thing, and then doing these reflections here. We've taken that and turned it into this assignment. So if you go down to the data analysis project in Brightspace, we've basically taken that whole thing and been a little more specific on things here. So here's the requirements, and here's the kind of the outline of the write-up you're going to do to when you're working on it. Again, we're going to try to do everything here today. You don't have to submit it until Sunday, so don't feel pressure that you have to get this all done today. But I hope to give you enough time and work to work on this stuff today. So let's start by figuring out teams of this. So we want to have teams of students here. So if you have someone you want to work with, we can do that. Otherwise, I can randomly assign you to a team there. So we'll give you about 5 minutes. We'll try to figure that out. So you can work with someone or I'll randomly assign you that. So.
Oh, oh, I don't know. Or Evan? Oh.
Hey. Oh.
If you want, sure. Yeah. Oh.
You know, we don't have anyone for you yet. Okay, well, why don't you get started and I'll look and see, let's see who else is in here. Give me a second, we can figure this out. So,
I have faith.
yeah.
Let's see.
Yes, kid. Another app. We just upgraded the Metric Ball app.
Well, we're doing the data analysis stuff yet, not the final project. This is so. Okay, so in this project, what you want to do is pick a data source and do this analysis for this. We want a data source that you can get as a spreadsheet and that has at least 1,000 rows. There's a link here. You may use one of these examples. So you can open up this example. This is maintained by Mobile CSP and updated regularly. It was just updated for 2025 here. I'll just warn you, some of these are hard to get at there. So like these are just places to get data. So like you can go to the census and there's some really good data there, but sometimes it's hard to find the right tables and know what these tables are. So here's like the census data, and then how to download this gets a little complicated here. And there are other places where there's data, but it's not downloadable in some form. So my suggestion, if you want the easiest way to get data, is to go to this CORGIS one. The CORGIS, the Core GIS one, go to that one. And there's these different data sets here. You can pick one. I think almost anyone here, like here's food. I'm just going to go to food. And I can just download the CSV file. So that's what we generally want to do, is download an Excel or CSV file. I'm going to download that here. And this will tell me the columns in that CSV file there. And then eventually I'm going to go into Google Drive and I'm going to open up that CSV file, upload that file. And then if I look at it, it just shows it to me as a chart, but I want to open it up with Google Sheets. And it'll show me the data. And all those should have more than 1,000 rows. This one has 7,000 rows. So that's plenty enough data for us to work with there. So again, I recommend this Core GIS data website. And then once you get there, you can select any of these areas, select there. You know, last class, I guess we were talking about Broadway plays there. So you can download Broadway play data or anything. Most of these will have the CSV files right there. So pick whatever you want, download it, and try to get it into a Google Sheet there. If you're having trouble, and again, you don't have to do the Core GIS. You can go to any of these sites and stuff. But again, I find the easiest and simplest ones are this Core GIS. So I'll give you some time to locate some data, open it up, and find it there. Okay. And call me over if you have trouble working, especially with some of these other websites that are more complicated. Okay. So you've got your data, and the next part of this is to make some hypotheses about this data here for this. So you want some questions or hypotheses about the data that you think you can answer. So we want 4 or 5 of those ones here. So like here, I downloaded the hospital data and I can't just ask anything. I can't say, well, what is the best hospital? I have to look at the data and see. Now, you might like this core GIS data. In here, it defines everything. So I can look at the fields, the columns. So, for example, it lists the hospital name, the city, and the state. The overall rating, that might be interesting. Some other ratings, the costs of a heart attack, the quality of a heart attack, the cost of heart failure, the cost of pneumonia treatment, and the cost of knee treatment, but not like, you know, I can't ask it how much is pregnancy, you know, giving birth at a hospital cost or something like that, but I can see knee costs. And so my job would be to make some hypotheses on this data or things like, so my brother does knee surgery. So I'm thinking, oh, knee surgery seems kind of interesting. So I want to look at hip and knee surgery and the cost, average cost at the hospital there. And my thought is he does knee surgery here and he does knee surgery in Deer River, which is a more rural hospital. And my thought is that rural hospitals might have might not cost as much as a bigger city hospital like Duluth or something like that. So maybe I will look, make a hypothesis there. Now, how do I want to test that out? Because there isn't, the cities, these hospitals are not marked as rural or city, it looks like. So maybe that's not a great thing to do there. Maybe I will look at something else like, well, I think the costs in Minnesota are quite expensive. So I would say maybe the hospital costs in Minnesota are higher than in other states. So I would say Minnesota is maybe in the top 10 of states in Minnesota as far as costs of knee surgery, I would guess. So then I would check that out and I would do some analysis. I do pivot. I like to do pivot tables. So I just put a pivot table here and then let me, how do I modify this pivot table? I don't know if I'm in edit mode with this. Let me go back here and I'll just insert a new pivot table here. So I would maybe just do insert a pivot table in a new sheet. Oops, not hit cancel. And I would want to look at like the data, the value would be the cost of knee replacement. And for the rows, I want to maybe look at the states. And this will show me the average cost. Now, this is actually, I have to watch, this is actually doing the total cost of all the knees in each state. I'm going to switch that to the average cost. And I can look at this and see what is the average cost. And then I can maybe sort this. I can sort this by the average cost. And I can see Minnesota's here. And I go, well, that's right at the top. And I realize, no, Minnesota is one of the cheapest spots to get a knee replacement in the United States. It's significantly cheaper here than, you know, it's twice as cheap as it is in a lot of the more expensive states. So my hypothesis that Minnesota was more expensive on knees is incorrect. But again, you're going to look at some of the hypotheses and you're not going to be able to answer them. So your job is to look at this data and figure out what, you know, can you ask questions that you can answer from that data? And you want to write down 3 to 4 your questions that you can answer from the data and then try to answer that. Okay, so I'll let you do that. Call me over again. You don't know, you haven't done that much analysis on spreadsheets, on Google Sheets. So if you need help with that, let me know. Feel free also to use AI to help you assist with some of this stuff as you're working on this. So see how that goes. Okay, now I think you're getting along, you're asking questions, and someone asked earlier, what is your goal here? And your goal is to do a presentation here. So you want to be able to do like Google Slides or something like that, Prezi, whatever you want. Since you're already in Google Slides works really well. You just want to put each one of your questions on a slide, do a simple presentation with it there. And you can decide you want the question and then maybe a little graph or a little table or just the answer. So sometimes you can look and just put the couple numbers there or something like that. Sometimes you can put a graph there. Sometimes, I mean, maybe you want, to have the question on one slide and then the big reveal on the next slide. It's up to you on how you want to do this. We're going to have you give these presentations in class on Monday. It's going to be a very high stress situation. I'm going to be grading you very particular and so I'm not teaching you how to do presentations. We're doing data analysis, but I want you to gain some experience on doing presentations. So you have to do a presentation, but your presentation is graded pass, fail. So if you get up here and give the presentation, you will pass. You will get points for that. Okay.
You just need to present something.
Just something.
Okay.
There. For that. There. So. Yeah, so you're ready. So again, presentations should include your data source, questions, illustrations created, and a summary of the answers to your questions there. Now, you must create at least one visualization, so at least one graph there you don't need a graph. You want 4 to 5 questions, and at least one of them should be answered with a graph. But you don't need a graph for every one of them because sometimes you can answer the question, but just looking at the numbers or a pivot table or something like that there. And also make sure you describe your data set and where it came from and what it is. So, okay. So that's your presentation. On Monday, you'll be doing that. If you create whatever you do, you should put in the Teams area, you should share it and put a link to it up here. So. Okay. All right.
3 questions. More, at least. Well, one more at least.
I'm just going to show you one more thing I've seen a couple of you have is when you create a pivot table, sometimes it'll be locked. You get out of edit mode. If you want to get back to edit mode, you click on the pivot table and there's this little pencil down at the bottom of the screen and you can switch and click edit. And that'll pop up so you can change what's in the rows and columns if you need to. And you can change the sorting and stuff like that. And again, when you close this, to bring it up, you hit this little edit button down here. Okay. Okay, we're going to end this.